Good evening. This is Emma Toops, and today is day 27 in the video series. Today is part 2 of effective communication. I'm going to share the difference between hearing and listening and provide some active listening tips. To start, consider this question. Are hearing and listening the same thing? Many people will say that they are. But the correct answer is they are not the same thing. I'm going to give you a couple examples to illustrate how they are not the same. So, have you ever been in a busy place where there's a lot of people talking, like a restaurant or a meeting, or maybe an airport terminal? You're hearing all the people talking and the noise, but did you understand what any of the conversations were about? Another example, have you ever been at a learning opportunity where there's just a single person in the front of the room, a teacher, a lecturer, but you left the room not knowing what they talked about? Again, you heard them talk, but you didn't take anything away. Hearing is physiological. It means that your body is functioning and your ears work. That you're picking up the sound vibrations of the people talking and whatever noise happens to be in the environment. But because you're not paying attention to it, none of it has any meaning or relevance for you. Hearing is a passive activity. It happens whether you're paying attention or not. Now, listening is psychological. And this means that your brain is involved. What it does is it assigns meaning to what you are hearing by tying it to something in your memory, something that you have already heard as far as past knowledge. It might be something that you have experienced before, or you are acknowledging what you are hearing as new information, and you are adding it to your database so that you could recall it later as a memory. Now, yesterday, I talked about effective communication being something that was a little bit complicated, and it was a process. And part of it is that it requires people to be attentive and intentional. Well, this is because active listening is a component of effective communication, and it is not something that is done passively. Active listening requires focus and attention. So in a conversation between two people, only one has to be actively listening for the communication to be effective, because that one person who is actively listening can get the conversation back on track if confusion or misunderstanding starts to creep in. Okay, some active listening tips that you can apply to help your conversations to be more effective. The first tip is to listen with your eyes as well as your ears. And what I mean by that is, as you are paying attention, do the words match what you are seeing? People will lie, and their body will do things to kind of give you hints that they are lying. You can maybe see it in the way that their eyes are shifty, or they look uncomfortable to the words that they are saying, or maybe their energy doesn't match what they're saying, which ties to the second tip, which is to listen with your heart. And that, again, ties to the energy in the conversation or the feelings that you're getting, kind of the vibe in what's going on in the conversation. If someone is excited, a lot of the time their voice may be a little bit more higher pitched. It might be a little bit faster, and you can kind of feel the energy that they are excited, right? Or if someone's a little bit depressed, they might be trying to seem that they're not depressed, but you can kind of feel that there's something off. The energy doesn't match. Okay, so you can listen with your heart. The third tip is to use body language. If you are actively listening and you are understanding what's going on, or you're agreeing with the person, you can kind of nod your head, and that kind of gives the person acknowledgement to continue. Or if you're starting to get confused, you could maybe tilt your head or raise your eyebrow, or if they're talking too fast and you don't quite understand, maybe you might need to raise a hand or something to give an indication that you need to ask a question. So the next tip is to fight the brain capacity that you are gonna have for more information. Now, most people don't talk fast enough or have such a volume of information to where your brain is going to be overwhelmed. And this is why people start to wander as far as their brain. You have to be focused on the conversation that you are in. Otherwise, your brain is just looking for more things to collect. It's that hearing thing where there's a whole bunch of stuff going on around you, but you need to focus and be attentive. Otherwise, your brain's going to just hear everything else outside of what is the conversation. The next tip is for you to process what is being said, right? If it makes sense, then you acknowledge it, give it a little nod. Or if you don't, you need to start asking a question. It doesn't make sense. You don't have anything to tie it to as far as meaning or a memory that you can recall. So this then also ties to the last tip, which if you're starting to get confused or the person won't let you get a word in edgewise, you need to be respectful and interrupt them. If you are the one who is actively listening, you cannot keep it effective if they don't stop talking so that you can ask a question or clarify or acknowledge what has already been said of what you have processed. So respectfully interrupt by saying something like, wait, hold on. I don't understand what you just said. Let me ask a question. Or maybe you can paraphrase and say, okay, so here's what I think you mean. So these are all tips that if you are already applying, then your conversations are probably already effective. But if you find that you are not doing these things, challenge yourself to apply some of these in your next conversation, and maybe you'll get a little bit more out of the next conversation that you have. So that's what I have for today. Come back tomorrow and I will resume with part 3. I'll talk about barriers to understanding and ways for a message to be misinterpreted. So I'll talk to you next time.